Hi there, my name is Sixo, but more on that later, as with Transformers Rise of the Beasts now on release, we find ourselves captivated by everything that happens within the film and a fair bit that doesn't. Given the pre-release hype for the movie and everything we glimpsed during the various trailers and TV spots, it's natural there will be some stuff that didn't make it. However, in this case, more than a few deleted scenes are very evident, all of which is backed up by reports from the early test screenings of the film. Piecing it together, today we're counting down 12 major examples of deleted scenes that just simply weren't in Rise of the Beasts, with an obvious spoiler warning in case you haven't seen the film. Last thing before we begin, today's video is brought to you by TF Source. I'll throw a link to their site in the description below. I'd also be very grateful if you could drop me a like for this video please, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Number 12, a Charlie reference. Kicking us off, let's talk about Charlie Watson. Many fans speculated if the 2018 Bumblebee human protagonist would pop up in Rise of the Beasts for a small cameo, and whilst that didn't happen, there was at least a brief nod towards her in dialogue with Optimus Prime. However, director Stephen Caple Jr. has since confirmed they shot an extended scene where Bee takes out a Polaroid photo of him and Charlie, using the likeness of actress Hailee Steinfeld, and he shows it to Optimus to stress that some humans can be trusted. Evidently there's a chance this might pop up as a deleted scenes extra at some point, so here's hoping. Number 11, Optimus vs Transit. Before the film's release, it was widely confirmed via test screenings that there was a scene where Optimus Prime battled a new Decepticon named Transit, and that this would have been the Autobot leader's introduction towards the start of the film. Transit turns into a bus, and we still see evidence of his presence in the final cut, when Optimus appears in a dark, rain-soaked bus yard where their fight occurs. Transit gloats about the Decepticons conquering Cybertron whilst Optimus is stuck on Earth, establishing his motivation to want to return home. After killing Transit, Optimus dumps his body in the Hudson River, where numerous other dead Decepticons are also revealed. Stephen Caple Jr. has since confirmed the scene's existence, and that it was essentially finished but removed because test audiences found it too dark. Transit was voiced by John DiMaggio, who also portrays Stratosphere in this movie, as well as both Crosshairs and Leadfoot previously. Even better, we got to see what Transit looks like thanks to his unused character art being discovered amongst the assets for Takara Tomi's website for the film. The director then dropped some deleted footage of Optimus from this scene, and although we don't get to see Transit, it is interesting that Optimus's appearance is much closer to some of the early promotional artwork. Again, the hope is that this scene will eventually see the light of day, meaning that we can't wait for them to release the Transit cut. Number 10, additional Autobot scenes in Peru. Next are several deleted moments once the Autobots arrive in Peru. This filming location was very public, and therefore lots of behind the scenes videos have emerged of vehicles in action whilst cameras were rolling. Of particular note is this moment of Optimus smashing Scourge through a brick wall, which would have been an awesome sight and indicates the city scenes were planned to be a bit more in depth, whereas in the final cut the action quickly heads towards more open roads on a hillside. Thanks to TFW 2005 user Cyborg Raptor, we also know of an additional scene present in the test screenings where the Autobots are staking out Peru prior to this fight. Apparently Optimus borrows Wheeljack's glasses to zoom in on what he's looking at. Now wouldn't that have been something to see? Number 9, additional ARCEE and Wheeljack moments. Right from some of the earliest marketing, fans picked up on an apparent connection between ARCEE and Wheeljack. With speculation, there may be more to their relationship than just comrades. The two did get a couple of moments during the final cut, but thanks to those test screenings we know this was significantly trimmed from what was planned, with strong romantic hints present at one point. ARCEE has additional dialogue after she arrives in Peru, indicating that she is flustered at the idea of Wheeljack's presence. There was also more dialogue as she hides in her fellow Autobots van mode, including a suggestive joke from Wheeljack that it's been a long time since ARCEE was inside him. A similar gag was ultimately made by Mirage about Noah in the final cut, so it's likely that this was simply repurposed. The test screening also contained more footage of Wheeljack showing concern for ARCEE during the final battle, further hinting at the depths of their feelings towards one another. Number 8, additional Maximal scenes. Like the Autobots, the Maximals had several key moments changed or cut before the film's release, some of which we've glimpsed in trailers. When Noah and Elena go looking for the transwarp key in the Peru caverns, they're attacked by a Terracon soldier, after which they run outside to be surprised by Optimus Primal. However, this scene was trimmed as it was originally Cheetor and Rhinox who first confront the humans while still inside the caverns, and this is the moment you see Rhinox roaring in the initial teaser. They then head outside and the scene continues with Primal as normal. Both characters had additional dialogue later in the film too. Rhinox didn't speak at all during the final cut, but he originally offers up a single line of dialogue in a scene where Optimus Prime gives an inspiring speech, ending with a shout of "For Cybertron," only for the Maximal to cheer "For home." Evidently, the Autobots then express surprise that he's even able to talk to begin with. Similarly, Cheetah was set to utter what would no doubt have been a fan favourite line in the final battle, after charging in alongside Optimus Primal and declaring, "We're right behind you, Big Bot," in a clear reference to the 90s Beast Wars cartoon. Number 7. Additional Peru dialogue. As part of the cutscene where Optimus gives a big speech in Peru, there would have been additional dialogue besides, some of which we can again see in the trailer. The clip of Noah asking how big UNICRON is, and Mirage replying that he eats planets, and so therefore he's
way bigger than a planet,
came from this sequence. Whilst it makes sense that it was removed due to being part of a larger scene, it's still a shame considering how memorable this moment was from the marketing. Also of note is Optimus Prime's immortal phrase, "Let them come," which played prominently during the various trailers and TV spots, yet this never actually appears in the same way in the final film. Presumably this would have also occurred during these cut Peru scenes. Number 6. AIRAZOR introduces UNICRON. The film initially started very differently and did not feature the opening scenes set on the Maximal's homeworld involving Scourge and UNICRON. Instead, we would have been introduced to the Planet Eater much later, after AIRAZOR first meets the Autobots in New York. In a larger cutscene, she shows them holograms depicting how her planet was destroyed by Scourge and the Terracons, and she then creates a vision of Unicron appearing above everyone in the sky, as though he were about to consume the Earth. There's some evidence for this in the trailers, with Elena visibly freaked out saying, which would have followed directly after this larger scene. As it stands, it's another memorable moment from the marketing that is nowhere to be found in the final film. Number 5. AIRAZOR's Spark. Though a few characters die during the film's runtime, one of the saddest is AIRAZOR. However, her death and its consequences were originally quite different, as in the test screening she is wholly feral and unable to speak by the time Optimus Primal is forced to kill her. The original plan was then for the Autobots and Maximals to use her Spark as a modified bomb to destroy the transwarp key during the big third act mission. However, this ultimately fails and they then resort to using Elena's codes to gain access instead, just as we saw in the final film. Number 4. Alternative trailer shots. Before we get on to 3 of the biggest deleted moments, let's talk about some alternate shots from the trailers that were reworked for the final product. The most notable of these is Optimus Primal's transformation during the charge into battle, which we saw prominently in the teaser trailer as the standout moment before the title card reveal. However, this moment looked very different in the final film itself. It's not the only example, as this now iconic shot of Bumblebee riding alongside Cheetor from the trailers also doesn't appear exactly as it is here. Instead, it's flipped, and the scene has now been expanded to include Optimus Prime and several other characters as well. Number 3. Mirage dies. If you've seen the film, you'll know that fan favourite Autobot Mirage manages to survive, despite being believed dead and turning into a suit of armour for Noah to wear during battle. However, this worked quite differently in test screenings, as Mirage first protects his human friend from Scourge's attack by turning into some sort of shield form. The rest of the film then plays out the same, except without the addition of the mid-credits sequence where Mirage is revived, thus ending with him being truly dead. Fortunately, Noah restores him in the final cut, meaning we'll hopefully get more of this character in future installments. Number 2. Optimus is captured by Unicron. One of the biggest changes to the final cut is the ending, particularly the fate of Optimus Prime. We see Optimus struggling to escape the vortex formed from the transwarp key explosion before Noah and Optimus Primal return to save him, working together to free themselves. However, test screenings had the film originally concluding on a much darker note, as Optimus does not make it out of the vortex and is instead sucked up into space, now assumed dead by his comrades. Another scene then reveals Optimus is still alive, but instead drifting through space towards Unicron, who opens his eyes to glare at the Autobot leader before the scene cuts to black. This would have clearly left the film in a very different place to what we saw, with the implication being that Optimus remains in Unicron's clutches for whatever was to come next, perhaps even working for him as a new herald somehow. Stephen Cable Jr. had this to say: "There was a version of the film where Prime went up into space. When he actually destroyed the key, he got sucked up into the portal and ended up with Unicron. But something was missing, and when I realised there wasn't an applause or a cheer at the victory, it just felt a little down. So we wanted to see the heroes win, because it just felt a little sad." Number 1. Sector 7. Now on to our final entry, and again, if you've seen the film, you'll know about that incredible last shot before the credits, where Noah meets a mysterious potential employer, only to flip his business card over and reveal that he works for G.I. Joe. It's a mind-bending, franchise-crossing, multiverse-inducing head-spinner of a twist, with serious implications for the wider film series. That aside, if you're like me, you were likely watching it all play out thinking we're about to get a Sector 7 reveal. before the big surprise moment. Well, despite the film going a very different way, that wasn't entirely off base. Though G.I. Joe was always the grand plan after Stephen Cable Jr. pitched the idea early in production, the director has also confirmed that they did in fact use the Sector 7 name for test screenings, with only minimal crew aware of what was actually being revealed. Ultimately, it's perhaps only a small change to the film itself, but one that will definitely have a much bigger impact on where the franchise is heading next, although that is a discussion for another time. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, then don't forget to drop it a like please, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also be sure to check out tfsource.com for all your Transformers and third-party needs. Otherwise, that's it from me, so thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day. TTFN.